Let's start reading from the purport.
Offenses are generally committed by persons who falsely
No, no, there's some underlined portion.
Everything depends on the strength of the recipient. For example, due to the scorching sunshine, many vegetables and flowers dry up and many glow luxuriantly. Thus, it is the recipient that causes growth and dwindling. Uh, a great soul may forgive offenses, but Krishna does not excuse offenses to the dust of that great soul's feet. Just as one can tolerate the scorching sunshine on one's head but cannot tolerate the scorching sunshine on one's feet.
Yeah. So the same sun is shining on the head and it is shining on the feet. But the heat of the ground, when we walk barefoot, the same heat we are unable to take. So same way, the Lord, He doesn't take the offense so easily. So even though the devotee may not take the offense so strictly, but the Lord punishes. So therefore, we should be very careful with the offenses. Okay, continue, please.
Offenses are generally committed by persons who falsely identify with the impermanent body. King Daksha was deeply engrossed in a misconception because he identified the body with the soul. He offended the lotus feet of the Lord Shiva because he thought that his body, being the father of the body of Sati, was superior to Lord Shiva's. Generally, less intelligent men misidentify in that way and they act in the bodily concept of life. Thus, they are subject to commit more and more offenses at the lotus feet of great souls. One who has such a concept of life is considered to be in the class of animals like cows and asses.
So then we should be very careful not to fall into this trap of committing offenses to devotees by unnecessarily criticizing them. So we discussed this before that if we have to offer criticism, then no, we should be in a position to offer criticism. We should be in a position of authority that we are actually authorized to offer some criticism. Otherwise, generally, we shouldn't offer criticism, even though somebody might be senior or junior, it doesn't matter. Generally, unless we are in a position of authority, unless we are responsible, generally we should try to avoid offering criticism. There may be some extreme exceptions to this, extreme situations are exceptional to this, but otherwise, in general course of time, we shouldn't unnecessarily criticize devotees or unnecessarily find fault with devotees. It's a very important thing because someone, especially in modern days gone, there's so much of things which are flying up and down. So many people criticizing, so many people, so much of information lying in the public domain, criticizing this person, that person, that person, this person. So much of criticism is lying there. So we should try to protect ourselves from such criticism, and we should try to focus on our own Krishna consciousness. Is quite important. I think you are all aware of the concept of circle of influence and circle of concern, right? You're all aware of the concept. So we should always work in circle of what? Influence. We should always work in circle of influence. What to do with circle of concern? We can do two things. One is that if it is a issue which is of importance and which is bothering, then definitely we can go and report that issue to those people for whom that issue is in circle of influence. We can do that. That's one thing. Second is we can always offer prayers. That's a very important thing. It's a very important tool. Sometimes is not so much recognized tool, but it's an important tool. That we can always offer prayers to the Lord. We can offer prayers to Prabhupada. If we think so seriously about it, we can do that. Okay, please read.
Shiva means Mangala or auspicious. Within the body, the soul is auspicious. Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman. This realization is auspicious. As long as one does not realize his identity as the soul, whatever he does is inauspicious. Shiva means auspicious, and devotees of Lord Shiva gradually come to the platform of spiritual identification. But that is not all. Auspicious life begins from the point of spiritual identification, but there are still more duties. One has to understand one's relationship with the Supreme Soul. If one is actually a devotee of Lord Shiva, he comes to the platform of spiritual realization. But if he is not intelligent enough, then he stops at that point, only realizing that he is spirit soul, Aham Brahmasmi. If he is intelligent enough, however, he should continue to act in the way of Lord Shiva. For Lord Shiva is always absorbed in the thought of Vasudeva. Thus, the auspicious position of Lord Shiva is realized if one takes to the worship of Vishnu. Because Lord Shiva says in the Shiva Purana that the topmost worship is worship of Lord Vishnu. Lord Shiva is worshipped because he is the greatest devotee of Lord Vishnu. One should not, however, make the mistake of considering Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu to be on the same level. That is also an atheistic idea.
Yeah. So we know this very well but the Lord Shiva is as good as Lord Vishnu in the matter of maintaining this material world. So we will see some prayers which is offered to Lord Shiva in the later part, and you will find that those prayers are those are prayers which could be offered to Lord Vishnu also. So in that sense, he is as good as Lord Vishnu in maintaining this material world. The only difference between Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva is that Lord Shiva is in touch with material energy and Vishnu is not in touch with material energy. That's the only difference between them. That's why Brahma Samhita, we all know the shloka. What is that? Shiram Yata. Chant the shloka. Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Okay, good. So Lord Shiva is very, very exalted personality. Very exalted personality. It is said that it is very difficult to understand his tattva. Okay, please.
One who understands that he is not the material body, but his spirit soul is liberated from ignorance. Lord Shiva also offers that facility. Lord Shiva is the friend of both, the ordinary man and the man who is elevated in spiritual knowledge. Even Vaishnavas, who are above both the ordinary and the elevated men in this world, also worship Lord Shiva as the greatest Vaishnava. This is the friend of everyone. Thus, he is the friend of everyone, the common man, the elevated man, and the devotees of the Lord. So, no one should disrespect or create enmity towards Lord Shiva.
Yeah. So it's not that we don't worship Lord Shiva, we worship Lord Shiva, but we worship Lord Shiva as Vaishnava. And in Mayapur, Vrindavan, you find that there are so many temples of Lord Shiva, and Vaishnavas go and worship there. But they worship him as the greatest of Vaishnavas, and also Lord Shiva protects the Dham. He is the Kshetrapal, And in Mayapur, he also does one very important service. He comes and chants the name of Lord Gaura to anybody who leaves their body in Mayapur. So he does a very special service in Mayapur. There's a place called Harihara Kshetra. In that place, that if someone leaves the body, then he comes and chants the name of Lord Gaura in their ears. So he does some very, very special service there. Also, Mayapur is protected by Vriddha Shiva and Praudamaya. So that they are the protecting deities of Mayapur. We have planned to build one temple for Vriddha Shiva and Praudamaya. There is a ghat called Gauranga Ghat, but currently that is not ghat. It is away from Ganga because Mother Ganga has moved away. Currently there is a small pukur there. So we have some plan to build some nice temple for Vriddha Shiva and Praudamaya. And also near our Mayapur temple, we have Shivdoba. Shivdaba. It's a place, small place called Shivdaba, where Sadanand Gaudiya Math is there. So that is the place where Lord Shiva, he was crying in ecstasy in Gauranga Prema. So that place is considered very, very auspicious. That place, that Shivdaba place, is considered very auspicious. We also have planned to develop something there. In Shivdaba we have a nice land, but before that we need to handle the drainage which is running there. Currently, just next to Shivdaba, there is a huge culvert of drainage which is running. So when you come to Mayapur, then you can take some time to just offer obeisance to Lord Shiva in Shivdaba. It's a very important place, just opposite the hospital, Shivdaba. Okay, please read.
Since Sati was a chaste woman and the wife of Lord Shiva, it was her duty to establish elevated position of Lord Shiva, not only by sentiment but by facts. Lord Shiva is not an ordinary living entity. This is the conclusion of Vedic scripture. He is neither on the level of the Supreme Personality of Godhead nor on the level of the ordinary living entity.
So he is a Tattva by himself. He is neither Ishvara Tattva nor Jiva Tattva.
Thus Lord Shiva's position constitutionally higher than that of Lord Brahma, although Lord Shiva appeared as son of Brahma. In many Puranas, it is sometimes asserted that a demigod is elevated to such a high position that he is almost on an equal level with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But the conclusion that Lord Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead is confirmed in every scripture. Lord Shiva is described in the Brahma Samhita to be like curd or yogurt. Curd is not different from milk, since milk is transformed into curd. In one sense, curd is also milk. Similarly, Lord Shiva is in one sense the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but in another sense he is not. Just as curd is milk, although we have to distinguish between the two. Whenever we find that a demigod occupies a position apparently more elevated than that of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is just to draw the devotee's attention to that particular demigod.
So there are different type of Puranas. We are all very familiar with that. Okay.
She did not actually come to her father's house, to participate in the function. Although before coming, she pleaded with her husband that she wanted to see her sisters and her mother. That was a plea only, for actually at heart she maintained the idea that she would convince her father, Daksha, that it was useless to continue being envious of Lord Shiva. That was her main purpose. When she was unable to convince her father, she gave up the body he had given her, as will be seen in the following verses.
See, that clarifies your discussion in the morning. So Prabhupada very clearly states this here, that was a plea only. But actually she maintained in her heart that the idea is that she wanted to convince her father. That's what Prabhupada says. Okay.
But by the same argument, Daksha could also defend himself by saying that since he was a Prajapati, the master of many living creatures and one of the great officers of the great universal affairs, his position was so exalted that Sati should accept his good qualities instead of vilifying him.
Yeah, see, this is a very common argument. Like sometimes when someone might criticize us, we may have the same mentality also. Oh, I have so many good qualities. Why this guy is not seeing all those good qualities? Simply why he is criticizing me. So Prabhupada is using the same argument. Okay.
The answer to that argument is that Sati was not vilifying but defending. If possible, she should have cut out Daksha's tongue because he blasphemed Lord Shiva. In other words, since Lord Shiva is the protector of religion, a person who vilifies him should be killed at once. And after killing Shiva, such a person, one should give up one's life. The instruction set forth here in Srimad Bhagavatam is that one should not tolerate at any cost the activities of a person who vilifies or blasphemes any authority. If one is a Brahman, he should not give up his body because by doing so he would be responsible for killing a Brahman. Therefore, Brahman should leave the place for or block his ears so that he will not hear the blasphemy. If one happens to be a Kshatriya, he has the power to punish any man. Therefore, a Kshatriya should at once cut out the tongue of the vilifier and kill him. But as far as the Vaishya and Shudra are concerned, they should immediately give up their bodies.
Yeah. So now what to do?
Shastrically, we can defend. Shastrically defending means cutting the tongue.
Yeah, shastrically we can. No, see, it is one thing like, it's like outsiders, trying to criticize ISKCON or criticize somebody. But sometimes we find there's a lot of criticism which commonly flows amongst devotees. So then what to do? What to do? Run away from the place, that's one option, okay. It's a good option, to run away from the place. That's a good option. Then? Okay. What if someone who is senior to you comes and does this? Sometimes it can happen like this also. It sometimes happen like this also.
They are very obstinate in their understanding that ISKCON means they are here only for money. And ISKCON is like this. If we glorify any place other than ISKCON, that I went there and I got prasadam, very nice prasadam, they will say ISKCON do book distribution, food distribution just for getting more money. So these kind of people are very obstinate. We can just avoid them, nothing else.
Correct. So this is outside people. Okay.
ISKCON devotees.
So okay, ISKCON devotees. Okay. 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 Sorry for that. Thank you for clarifying. Okay. I thought it's coming from outside people. Okay. 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 No, not only brahmacharis, but maybe others also. There are many people within ISKCON who are critical of ISKCON. Yeah.
You asked this good question that seniors are coming from
Yeah.
senior.
Yeah.
What should be done?
So I'm asking, what should be done? Sometimes some seniors come and speak so much of unnecessary. It may be relevant for them, but it's not relevant for us. We are some simple devotees trying to chant Hare Krishna. We are not concerned with what is happening with some big circles.
If you understand, Prabhuji, that now Prabhuji will go to bless me with this, so I can, Prabhuji, take some excuse. Prabhuji, I just try to prepare or I have to go one day.
Okay, that's one thing. You can say some urgent service is there, you can go away.
Gradually he will understand he is not a person of I can.
Okay, that's one thing. That's one way of doing it. Other way of doing it is, what else we can do?
Act as if hearing, but not to pay attention.
That's very difficult. That's possible only in Bhagavatam class. That is the only place we act as if we are hearing, but we are not giving attention. Yeah, that's quite difficult, okay. But if it is possible, we can try it, okay. But the injunction here is that we should not hear. Yeah, because it affects the consciousness. Any other solution? Any other solution?
One more thing can be done.
Yeah.
That you can start finding out something good about the situation or the temple, like there, last in the temple. That God,
One good thing I always found it very useful is just divert the whole issue, because I get to hear many things from many people. Somehow my face is like that. So I always try to, especially if it is seniors, I always try to divert the situation. I found it very useful. Just divert the whole topic. You just take it to a completely different topic, and then you ask something else. You ask some question, or you tell that I can't understand this in Bhagavatam. I was reading, and it's going beyond my head. Whether you understand or don't understand, just Just ask a question where he can take a senior position and then give some gyan to you. And then it works nicely, because then anyway he came to give some gyan, you can get some useful gyan rather than useless gyan. So that's one thing which generally works. Or diverting the entire issue to some other topic works, yes. So you have to be very careful how to navigate it. You have to be very careful how to navigate it. Some intelligence is required from your side also. The best thing is that you say that you have some service and run away. Okay, that's the best option, the best available option. Okay, you do it 2-3 times, then people understand that anyway this guy is not interested to hear nonsense. Okay, that's very dangerous. That's very dangerous. We should never get into that mentality. Acha, abhi katha mil gaya. They should not do that. Should not do that. Unless it is something which is directly concerned with your service and which might affect your service, generally you should not try to listen to what people say.
I personally felt Prabhuji.
Yeah.
So if you run away from that place again and again,
Yeah.
there are people who are here only to blaspheme.
Yeah.
Their only business is this.
Yeah.
So if they identify whether you're running away or you're diverting the attention, they will catch it. And if you're running, then if other devotees are around, he will start with saying, देखो अभी इसको कैसे भगाता हूँ. He will start something and then.
No, बहुत अच्छा है ना, but see, there's no problem. See, he may feel very proud that देखो मैं इसको भगा दिया, but it is good. It is good, and that is good for others also to understand कि भागना चाहिए. Okay, we should see. After all, they are devotees. They are making fun of us. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that if I can become the object of fun of devotees, my life is successful. If Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that, then हम लोग का क्या है? So we should not get worried about all these things. If he thinks that it is his achievement, that he can make us run away just by speaking some nonsense, we should give him that credit for having that achievement. इसमें कुछ शर्माने का बात नहीं है. It's good. But only danger comes when they want to just go behind you and then tell something to you. That's where it becomes a problem. This is a good problem to have.
One way I found Prabhuji not a good way, that finish it for once and all on the face.
Yeah, sometimes that's also very good. It may also be a good way. Tell nicely. You don't have to be rude with that. You can always tell nicely that you're telling me something, I have no connection to this. I can't even help you with this. So why are you telling me this? There's no point telling me this. You can tell it very nicely. Many times I also do that. When people come to tell me things which I cannot do anything or I have no connection, then I always tell them that in this case I cannot do. I can't do anything. So they become little morose. But next time you just tell them Hare Krishna, they are all right. So we don't have to be rude in doing that. Sometimes the thing is, when we tell people off the face, we generally tend to become rude. But that is the only thing we have to be little careful not to be rude. We can smilingly tell them. Generally, once or twice you tell them off the face, then if he is intelligent, he will understand. If he is still not, then thoda sa mirchi dena padega. But not in the first time. Generally, we should try to be nice to devotees. Okay, anything else?
Prabhuji,
It's very important to understand this, because the amount of criticism which flies nowadays is quite important to understand what are the different ways you can fortify yourself from that criticism. Yes?
so Prabhuji, sometime when we are staying, so some simple devotees are there, like some village background devotees are very simple, not that much like what we are learning here. Sometimes they get entangled into this. So, and they like their reaction, अच्छा ऐसा भी है क्या? Or next. So how to save them, because they are innocent?
So if you have influence on them, tell them that Bhagavatam ऐसा बोल रहा है, just read this purport to them and then tell them, या तो तुमको आत्महत्या करना पड़ेगा, या दूसरा आदमी का जीवा काटना पड़ेगा, या तुमको भागना पड़ेगा. So see, half the time the problem is people don't know. Those who listen to this, they don't know that they are doing something wrong. This is number one. Number two, people also are not very much conscious. Like, you know, every every time every day morning when we finish Mangalarati, we chant 10 offenses, right? That we say and the first thing we do to say is that to blaspheme the devotees who are dedicated their life for propagating the holy name of the Lord. That's the first thing we say. But we say it so mechanically that, and also the other misunderstanding we have is that when we chant the holy name, we should focus on the 2 hours of chanting. That's a big misunderstanding we have. That's a big misunderstanding we have. That if we focus on the 2 hours of chanting to chant offenselessly, then our chanting will be very good. This is the biggest misunderstanding we have. Because the offenses are less likely to be committed on the 2 hours of chanting. But the offenses are more likely to be committed on the 22 hours when you are not chanting. So the 22 hours when you are not chanting, that is the time you should be more careful not to commit offense. Not the 2 hours when you are chanting. I'm not saying you should relax and chant. I'm just saying that we should not have that misconception. We are very careful when we are chanting. We try to focus on the mantra. We are doing so many things. Different people have different ways of doing it. Some people are dancing, some people are singing, whatever it is. You know, we try to give our best for the 2 hours to chant the holy name. But we should also remember that that is not sufficient because there is 22-hour window to commit offense. There is 22-hour window to commit offense. So that 22-hour window we should be very, very careful. Not to commit offense, not to hear offensive things. Then we can save ourselves or we can have good quality 2 hours chanting. So we should tell them. Many people are not even aware that their chanting is getting affected by what they hear. So they think that chanting means that we should अरे जम के जाप करने का. Okay, जम के जाप करो, वो अच्छा है. लेकिन जम के जाप करने के बाद उसके बाद क्या किया? That is also equally important as much as the 2 hours what you did. So those things should be educated to them. If they are in your circle of influence, you should educate them these things. Then they will become more careful, more pacified. Yeah. The other important thing we need to understand is that everybody is going to have some defect or other. This is also another important thing we should understand. Everybody is going to have some defect or other. Nobody is perfect. Everybody is going to have some defect or other. So we have many defects, but we still think that we are trying to practice devotional service. So same way, somebody may have more defects than us, somebody may have less defects than us. But everybody has some defect or other. So therefore, we should not try to give so much focus to defects of others, either considering them or hearing about them. Either considering them or hearing about them. Both. We should be very careful. We need to consciously protect ourselves from hearing blasphemy, reading blasphemy. We need to consciously protect ourselves. We should make a conscious effort to protect ourselves. Otherwise, we can just get carried away. And so many people want to say so many things. Okay.
Elevated transcendentalists may sometimes forego the rules and regulations of the Vedas, since they do not need to follow them. Just as the demigods travel in space, whereas ordinary men travel on the surface of the earth. The behavior of the most elevated transcendentalist and that of the most fallen conditioned soul appears to be the same. The elevated transcendentalist can surpass all the regulations of the Vedas, just as the demigods traveling in space surpass all the jungles and rocks on the surface of the globe. Although a common man who has such ability to travel in space,
No such ability.
Sir, who has no such ability to travel in space, has to face all those impediments. A common man must observe all the rules and regulations of the Vedas, which a person who is in the transcendental position does not need to observe. Daksha found fault with Lord Shiva for not observing all the strict rules and regulations of the Vedas. But Sati asserted that he had no need to observe such rules. It is said that for one who is powerful like sun on the fire, there is no consideration of purity or impurity. The sunshine can sterilize an impure place, whereas if someone else were to pass such a place, he would be affected. One should not try to imitate Lord Shiva. Rather, one should strictly follow one's prescribed occupational duties. One should never vilify a great personality like Lord Shiva.
Yeah, so we should be careful also that we should try to follow the rules and regulations very nicely. And sometimes some people they may not. So we should not take them as examples to relax our standards. Sometimes this is another important thing which happens in ISKCON. That somebody who is very senior does something which may not be exactly according to standard. Then we should not take that excuse to relax our own standard. We should not say, "Arey, wo kar raha hai, itna bada bhakt hai, he is doing it. Why I cannot do it?" ठीक है, he is doing it, but वो बड़ा भक्त भी है, वो कर रहा है. Why we should relax our standard? So we should try to learn good things from others. We should not try to learn bad things from others, especially seniors. Sometimes they may not exactly follow some standard. We should be careful not to just relax our own standard because of that. We should follow our standard because we should know that that's good for us.
If one want, a sannyasi cannot act like a householder, nor can a householder act like a sannyasi. But above these two kinds of persons, one who engages in material activities and one who has renounced material activities, there is the person who is transcendental to both. Lord Shiva is in the transcendental position because, as stated before, he always absorbed in thought of Lord Vasudev within himself. Therefore, neither the activities of the Grahastha nor those of Sannyasi in the renounced order can be applicable for him.
So this is applicable for Paramahamsas. Huh? So this statement which Prabhupada is saying, this is applicable for Paramahamsas. This is not applicable for ordinary devotees. Ordinary devotees should follow the rules and regulations of their particular ashram. Okay.
Sati's father was under the impression that he was exalted in both prestige and opulence, and that he had offered his daughter to a person who was not only poor but devoid of all culture. Her father might have been thinking that although she was a chaste woman, greatly adherent to her husband was in a deplorable condition. Her husband's position was different. He possessed all opulences, but he did not like to exhibit them. But if required simply by willing, Lord Shiva can show his wonderful opulences, and such an event is predicted here, for it would soon occur.
Yeah. So Lord Shiva is very, very interesting personality. So one of the birth, Mother Durga, she was born as Meenakshi in South India, Madurai. She was born as Meenakshi. And she is Durga. So Meenakshi was born in a royal family and she was very powerful. She was so powerful that she collected an army of women, and that army of women, it went and defeated everybody. Even in the Devaloka, all people got defeated. Indra, Gandhra, everybody got defeated. Of course, she is Durga, she can defeat anybody. And then the father and mother, they were so much worried that how this girl will get married, because anybody who comes to get married, she is defeating them. How she will get married? So then Narad Muni said that, but she was looking for somebody to fight, whom I can fight with. So Narada Muni told, you go to Kailas, you fight with Lord Shiva, he is very, very powerful, go and fight with him. So she became very enthusiastic, let me go to Kailas and fight with Lord Shiva. So she went, and then Lord Shiva came to fight also. So when she saw Lord Shiva for the first time, she realized that she is a woman. And she became very shy. She became very attracted to Lord Shiva. And then she came back and told that I will get married to Lord Shiva. But her mother has not seen Lord Shiva. So she is waiting that who will come, who is Lord Shiva. She wants to see her son-in-law. Then different demigods, they were all coming one after other. And they were all looking so bright, effulgent, beautiful. And this mother was eagerly asking everyone, is he Lord Shiva, is he Lord Shiva, is he Lord Shiva? And they said, no, 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 no. And finally Lord Shiva came. He was sitting on bull. He was almost half naked. And he had so much of hair open. And he was wearing garland skull. And he was coming ding, ding, ding like this. And then they told her, this is your son-in-law. She fainted only. She thought, what is this? What kind of person this is? How did my daughter like this person? You know, so abominable kind of person. Then Vishnu told him that, see, you are going to get married. You should not be like this. Then Lord Vishnu personally decorated Lord Shiva for the marriage. And when Lord Shiva came after being decorated nicely by Vishnu, then the mother-in-law, she became so attracted to Lord Shiva, she was thinking, maybe I can also marry you. She became so attracted. So, Lord Shiva in Madurai, he is called as Sundareshwara. He is called as Sundareshwara. Because his form, he exhibited the complete beauty of his form in Madurai. Generally in other places, Lord Shiva doesn't exhibit the complete beauty of his form. But when he married Meenakshi, at that time, he was so nicely decorated and he exhibited the complete beauty of his form. So, that's what here it is said that Lord Shiva's opulences are very wonderful. But he doesn't just exhibit those opulences. Very interesting that how beautiful Lord Shiva is.
In this verse, the performers of the Vedic rituals are condemned. They have been described here as Dhuma Vartabhahi, those who maintain themselves on the remnants of sacrificial foodstuff. There are two kinds of foodstuffs offered in sacrifice. One kind is food offered in the fruity ritualistic sacrifice, and the other, the best, is the food offered to Vishnu. Although in all cases Vishnu is the chief deity on the sacrificial altar, the performer of fruitive rituals aim to satisfy various demigods to achieve in return some material prosperity. Real sacrifice, however, is to satisfy Lord Vishnu, and the remnants of such sacrifice are beneficial for advancement in devotional service. Vishwanath Chakravarti has described the ritualistic performers to be like crows, because crows delight in eating the remnants of food which has been thrown into the dustbin. All the Brahmanas who were present for the sacrifice were also condemned by Sati. Sati, being the devoted wife of Lord Shiva, offers all kinds of material opulences to the worshippers of Lord Shiva. This fact is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. In the 10th canto, Lord Shiva's worshippers sometimes appear more opulent than the worshippers of Lord Vishnu, because Durga, or the Sati, being the superintendent in charge of material affairs, can offer all material opulences to the worshippers of Lord Shiva in order to glorify her husband, whereas the worshippers of Vishnu are meant for spiritual elevation, and therefore their material opulence is sometimes found to decrease. These points are very nicely discussed in the 10th canto.
So, in the 5th canto, when Lakshmi Devi is offering prayers to the Lord, there it is clearly mentioned that there are two types of wealth. One wealth which is offered by Durga, and the other wealth which is offered by Lakshmi Devi. The wealth which is offered by Lakshmi Devi is offered to the Vaishnavas, and that wealth never diminishes. But the wealth which is offered by Durga to those who are non-devotees, it becomes the cause of the downfall of those non-devotees. So therefore, there are two types of wealth. Even though Durga offers wealth to the followers of Lord Shiva, but that wealth is not very good. It's not very good. But wealth offered by Lakshmi Devi is very good. Okay?
Lord Shiva is the greatest devotee of Lord Krishna, and Sati's behavior is exemplary because no one should tolerate blasphemy against Lord Vishnu or his devotee. Sati is aggrieved not for her personal association with Lord Shiva, but because her body is related with that of Daksha, who is an offender at Lord Shiva's lotus feet.
So she took some extreme action to show that how serious it is to hear blasphemy.
Daksha was an incarnation of all offenses. Daksha was the embodiment of the envy, for he unnecessarily blasphemed a great personality, Lord Shiva. Simply.
So sometimes the way Prabhupada writes, very strong, is very strong. In the sixth canto also, Prabhupada writes in the Lila between Vritrasura and Indra. He says Vritrasura will go back to material world and Indra will go back to spiritual world and Indra will rot in this material world, he says. So sometimes these type of strong statements Prabhupada makes for us to understand the seriousness of the matter which he is discussing. So sometimes he makes very strong statements. Okay. The air rises from the abdomen to the navel, and from the navel to the heart, and from the heart to the throat, and from throat to between the eyebrows, from between the eyebrows to the top of cerebrum. This is the sum and substance of yoga, practice of yoga. This grace technique, which one has to practice to attain the highest perfection stage of yoga, is but a practice not meant for this age. No one in this age can attain perfection stage of such yoga, but people indulge in practicing sitting postures, which is more or less a gymnastic process. By such bodily gymnastics, one may develop good circulation and may therefore keep one's body fit. But if one simply restricts oneself to gymnastic process, one cannot attain higher perfectional stage. Any transcendental process of spiritual realization automatically helps one to keep the body fit, for it is the spirit soul that keeps the body always fresh. Any spiritual process keeps the body fit without separate endeavor. But if it takes that the ultimate aim of yoga is to maintain body, he is mistaken. The Bhakti Yoga process directly elevates the soul to the spiritual planets where life is eternally blissful and full of knowledge. Therefore, Bhakti Yoga is considered to be greatest of all yoga systems. So, this is quite very interesting purport which Prabhupada writes. And especially Prabhupada says any transcendental process of spiritual relation automatically helps one to keep the body fit. So nowadays we see that there's a lot of emphasis sometimes on practicing yoga, that these devotees say that, oh, you should practice yoga, you should do this, you should do that. And then devotees also get benefited by practicing some yoga because it helps their body, etc. But Prabhupada maintained his teachings very, very consistently throughout Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, that the practice of yoga is not required in this age. He maintained it very, very consistently. And here in this purport, especially Prabhupada actually says that if we follow the instructions very strictly, then any spiritual process can keep the body fit. Prabhupada gave us a whole set of program. Unfortunately, we don't strictly follow that program. And when you don't strictly follow that program, then definitely we'll get into different problems. And then we have to get into some other things like, okay, let's do yoga, let's do pranayam, let's do this, let's do that. And then we try to spend more time in those things. I am not against it. If somebody wants to do yoga, they can do yoga, it's okay. But we should be very careful not to dilute our philosophy. We should be very careful not to dilute our philosophy, because nowadays we are not exactly following how Prabhupada asked us to live. That many temples are so small, you cannot even dance. Dancing is a very important exercise. And nicely dancing in front of the deity itself is a very good exercise. itself is a very good exercise. And it's important to do. Previously everybody used to go on Sankirtan. Means that you take the book bag, you go on the street, you walk, you distribute books. It's all very good exercise. Same way worshipping the deity is a very good exercise because you have to bend, you have to clean, you have to get up 100 times, you have to bend, clean up, get up, clean that. This is quite good exercise, keeps the body fit. But nowadays, some of them are doing, some of them are not doing. Then naturally we get other problems. So therefore, it is a right of every devotee to choose some method to keep his body fit. That's okay. But at the same time, we should be very careful not to make it a philosophy out of it. Okay, that's very important. That's something which we should be very careful. And we should also remember what Prabhupada says. Any transcendental process of spiritual realization automatically helps one to keep the body fit. Okay. Please read.
One should be extremely careful about associating with persons who are not respectful to the higher authorities.
Please read again.
One should be extremely careful about associating with persons who are not respectful to the higher authorities.
Okay.
It is
Everybody read it, right? Okay, please continue.
It is therefore instructed in the Vedic literature that one should always be free from the association of atheists and non-devotees, and should try to associate with devotees. For by the association of a devotee, one can be elevated to the platform of self-realization. This injunction is stressed in many places in Srimad Bhagavatam. If one wants to be liberated from the clutches of material existence, then one has to associate with great souls. And if one wants to continue one's material existential life, then one may associate with persons who are materialistic. The materialistic way of life is based on sex life. Thus, both becoming addicted to sex life and associating with persons who are addicted to sex life are condemned in Vedic literature, because such association will simply interfere with one's spiritual progress. However, association with great personalities, devotees who are great souls, will elevate one to the spiritual platform.
Of course, it's understood that in her next life she would take birth as daughter of Himalayas Parvati, and then would again accept Lord Shiva as her husband. Sati and Lord Shiva are eternally related. Even after she changes body, the relationship is never broken. So, one important thing which we should learn in ISKCON is that we should actually try to see every authority as spiritual authority. Sometimes it is very difficult to see managerial authorities as spiritual authorities, but they are also spiritual authorities because they are devotees. Incidentally, they happen to do management service. Incidentally, they happen to do management service. So, therefore, we should always try to remember that every authority in ISKCON is a spiritual authority. Doesn't mean that we should not disagree from them. You should never get confused with these two things. You should be independently intelligent. If you have to disagree, you should disagree. But everything should be done respectfully. Everything should be done respectfully. That is the most important thing that we should remember. The other thing is that we should always remember, first of all, they are devotees. Then they are anything else. They are whatever position they are having, whatever they are doing. It all comes after that. Everybody comes to ISKCON to become devotee, to chant 16 rounds, follow 4 regulative principles, eat prasad. This is why they come. They come to become devotee. And in the course of doing devotional service, they may take some position, they may not take some position, they may be in position sometime, they may be thrown out of position sometime else. These things keep happening. These are all like, the nature of the material world, that, it keeps rotating, something here, there, everything keeps happening. But we should try to see everyone as a devotee who has come to go back home, back to Godhead in the first place. This view we should have about everybody. This view we should have about everybody. Then rest of it is okay. You may have differences, you may agree, all that is fine. Some devotees will be more inspiring, some devotees will be less inspiring. These are all fine. Rupa Goswami himself says there are Kanishta, Madhyama and Uttama. And again, Kapila Devi is saying that there are devotees who are less than Kanishta. Means there are devotees who are in mode of passion and mode of ignorance. They are considered to be less than Kanishta. Kanishta Adhikari means at least he should be in mode of goodness. So, we have different type of devotees, but first of all we should try to see them as devotees. Yes. Yes, correct. Yeah, because he is conditioned by mode of goodness. Yeah, but the point is that they have adhikar, okay, and the main problem with Kanishta Adhikari is that he is unable to appreciate the value of devotee association. That is his main problem. Okay, and that problem comes because of his conditioning by mode of goodness. And he thinks that I am much better than anybody else because I am in mode of goodness. So he is still attracted to that aspect of mode of goodness. He is still attracted to that Brahmanical platform, and he thinks that being Brahmana is great. So because of those kind of attachment which comes from mode of goodness, then he cannot appreciate the association of devotees. And those devotees who are in mode of passion and mode of ignorance, they are trying to come to Kanishta level, but they cannot be considered strictly as Kanishta Adhikaris. In fact, if you see Nectar of Instruction, Prabhupada says that those who are in mode of passion and mode of ignorance, they are like Sahajas. In the purport, Prabhupada says. And of course, we divide them into 3 levels, but they are also divided into 9 levels. That within Kanishta, there are again 3 levels. Within Madhyama, there are again 3 levels. Within Uttama, there are again 3 levels. So, a person who is Kanishta Adhikari means that he should be in Brahmanical platform. A person who is Madhyama Adhikari, he should be in transcendental platform. He should be beyond 3 modes. Madhyama Adhikari means he is not inflicted by 3 modes. Then he can be called as Madhyama Adhikari. Sometimes we misunderstand. We think that Kanishta Adhikari is some crazy guy. It's not like that. It's not like that. Generally what happens with all of us is that we think that Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari, Uttama Adhikari in different silos, no? We think like, this Kanishta, this is Madhyama, this is Uttama. But these are all qualities, right? Like sometimes we have some qualities of Kanishta, sometimes we have some qualities of Madhyama, sometimes we have some qualities of Uttama also. Okay? But this is a mixture of these qualities. We are mixture. We are not like what to say, ISI, Kanishta Adhikari. Most of the times like the sadhakas are not like that. They have a mixture of qualities. So you should see predominantly what quality you have, that is number 1. And number 2 is that you should also try to come out of your base modes. That's the basic effort should always be there. Since you asked the question, I am saying you, but it is applicable to all of us. That we should try to come out of our base modes which is the mode of ignorance and mode of passion which could be there within us. We should try to come out of those base modes. That is one thing. And we should try to properly situate ourselves in mode of goodness. Means that situating properly in mode of goodness means that trying to attain Madhyama stage. So what is the symptom of Madhyamadhikari? The symptom of Madhyamadhikari is that he understands that Krishna is the object of love. He understands that devotees are friends. We should maintain Maitri, friendship with devotees. We should be compassionate to the innocent, and we should avoid the envious, demoniac people. We should avoid. So these qualities, are we consistently maintaining or not? That is something we should definitely work on. We should definitely work on. That how much appreciation we have for the association of devotees. That's a very important thing for us to see. That we should be very grateful, thankful and appreciative of the association of devotees. And we should understand that Krishna should be the undivided object of our love. We should try to understand this. That when someone is trying to compete within our heart for that position of Krishna, then we should understand that that's not good. That undivided object of Krishna should be our undivided object of love. Okay, let me ask this question. I have asked this question many times. It is a kind of a word play. Okay, so be careful while you are answering this question. Okay, how many of you think that Krishna consciousness is the most important thing in your life? Please raise your hand. Okay, I see some people didn't raise their hand. So why didn't you raise your hand?
I didn't understand word play.
Okay, forget the word play. Do you think Krishna consciousness is the most important thing in your life? Okay, you didn't raise your hand, right? Now you are confusing. Okay, Prabhuji, did you raise your hand? You raised your hand. Anybody else didn't raise your hand? You didn't raise your hand. Why? Yes, that's the answer. That's why I said it's wordplay. Krishna consciousness is not the most important thing in our life. Krishna consciousness is the only thing in our life. That's the only thing in our life. When we say that Krishna consciousness is the most important thing in our life, we are saying that there could be things which are less important, but they are independent of Krishna. That's why I said it's wordplay. Okay. That's why I said it is wordplay. So when we say that Krishna consciousness is the most important thing in our life, then we are automatically acknowledging that there could be other things which are less important or least important, but there are still some elements which are independent of Krishna consciousness in our life. That is not Madhyama platform. Madhyama platform means to clearly understand that I have only one life, which is Krishna conscious life. That's called Madhyama platform. Sometimes people talk about balancing material duties and spiritual duties. There is nothing like balancing material duties and spiritual duties. There is nothing like this. There is nothing like this. Because a devotee does not have any material duty to perform. So where is the question of balancing material duty and spiritual duty? But there is a balance which is required. What is that balance? The balance is that in a devotee's life that there are two types of activities. There are two types of activities. Activities which are naturally Krishna conscious and activities which should be made Krishna conscious. In every devotee's life there are two types of activities. Activities which are naturally Krishna conscious is Navavidha Bhakti. You don't have to make it Krishna conscious. When you chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, you don't have to make it Krishna conscious. That is okay. Even if you don't do it consciously, it is still considered bhakti. Bhagavatam says, even if it is done as Helana, it is still considered as bhakti. Okay. So these are activities, like for example, in Nectar of Devotion it is given that if you walk behind the deity, it is considered as an anga of bhakti. You may not be consciously walking behind the deity, you may be doing something else. Like somebody might not consciously walk behind the deity. He may be walking behind one girl whom he likes, but the deity happens to be in front of him. But that constitutes devotional service for him. So activities which are naturally devotional, are directly devotional service. But there are other activities which are not naturally devotional. Like for example, eating, sleeping, mating, defending, these are all not naturally devotional. You have to make them Krishna conscious by actually adding Krishna, by offering food to Krishna, all these things. Clearly understand. So now we have two types of activities. We have activities which are naturally Krishna conscious and activities which have to be made Krishna conscious. Now the balance is you should do activities which are made Krishna conscious in such a way that the taste for naturally Krishna conscious activities increase. This is the balance. What is the balance? The balance is that you should do activities which should be made Krishna conscious in such a way that activities which are natural, the taste for activities which are naturally Krishna conscious increases. When one understands this, he is in Madhyama platform. And when one understands this and tries to act according to this, that means this is Madhyama platform. If one is simply attached to Krishna consciousness for the sake of self-purification, or one thinks that Krishna consciousness is the duty according to scripture, or if one is simply attached to Krishna consciousness because he can give up the reactions of all his sinful activities, then he is in Kanishta platform, because this is devotional service which is done in mode of goodness. Because that is the reason why he is very attached to deity, that is the reason why he is very attached to Guru. His attachment to deity and Guru comes from these factors, that he very clearly knows that I should actually worship the deity because by which I can get purified. The inabilities of my activities will be removed, and this is my duty. All these things he understands very nicely. That's why I said that a person who is Kanishta Adhikari, he is in mode of goodness, because he is attached to two important aspects of devotional service, which is deity and Guru. His ability to serve the deity or his attachment to serve the deity comes from his Brahmanical position. Those who are in mode of passion and mode of ignorance, they are not so much attached to the deity, and they are also not so much attached to Guru. So they will become Kanishta Adhikari because they are practicing devotional service, but they are considered as below Kanishta level. So if you see Nectar of Devotion, then the examples of people who are going to become Kanishta Adhikari, all exalted people are given. The Chatuskumar, Gajendra, Dhruva, all exalted people are given. Chaturvida bhajante mam jana sukrina arjuna ato jigyasa artartik jnani cha bharatarshava udara sarva evaite jnani tatvam mevatam. But why jnani is better? Because he is already in mode of goodness. He has already come to Kanishta platform. So when he comes to, when the jnani, when he realizes the value of devotional service, he will straight away bypass and he go to Uttama level. Directly he will go to Uttama level. His Kanishta will be very, he will just like his Madhyama will, just like that he will cross and he will go to Uttama Adhikari level, because he is already pure. He is already pure. That's why Krishna says that a jnani who wants to become devotee is very pleasing to Krishna. So Prabhupada says that we should become at least Madhyamadikari. In Nectar of Instruction, Prabhupada says that at least we should come to the level of Madhyamadikari. So that is Prabhupada's expectation from us, that at least we will act in transcendental platform. Means consistently we should be in mode of goodness. We should not allow modes to fluctuate in our life. So that's Madhyama platform. That we have good appreciation for devotees and devotee Sangha. And we understand that as we practice devotional service, our taste for naturally devotional activities should increase. That's something which we should carefully consider. It could be one activity, it could be all the activities, that doesn't matter. But the taste for these activities should increase. Okay. According to Bhagavatam, it can take 1 second, less than a second, according to Bhagavatam. According to Krishna, it can take many lifetimes. Okay? Why this difference is there? Krishna says that Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitram miha vidyate tatsvayam yoga samsiddha kalena atmani vindati. Kalena atmani vindati, he says. That in due course of time, you can actually taste the fruit of transcendental knowledge. He says that there's nothing greater, there's nothing purer than transcendental knowledge. But to actually taste that fruit of transcendental knowledge, which is prema, he says it will happen in due course of time. He says kalena atmani vindati. But Bhagavatam is giving a completely different understanding. He says that Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kimva Parat Ishvara Sadhyo Hridi Avarudyate Atra Kritibi Sushushubi Takshanat. The two words are used. First word which is used is Sadhyo. Sadhyo means quickly. Takshanat means at the same time, at the same moment. So, Bhagavatam is saying that it can happen so quickly. Krishna is saying that will take a lot of time. Why? No. Bhagavatam is trying to deliver Krishna through the medium of pure devotees. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is directly talking. So if you have to deal with Krishna directly, it's going to take a long time. But if you try to deal with Krishna through the medium of pure devotees, then it takes much shorter time. It takes much shorter time. So therefore, of course, there is pastime of Mahaprabhu and one of his associates in Mahaprakash Lila, that Mahaprabhu was giving his mercy to everybody. And then there was one devotee about whom Mahaprabhu was not talking only. I forgot his name. If somebody remembers the name, please tell. Mukunda. And then everybody went and told Mahaprabhu, "Arey, you are not talking about Mukunda, what happens?" He said, "After so many lifetimes you will get." And then they came and told Mukunda, "So many lifetimes, lakhs and lakhs of lifetimes." "Oh, you are so happy." Dang, he was dancing. He said, "At least now Mahaprabhu was told that I am sure that after so much lifetime I will get." So Prabhupada says in one purport that if a devotee comes to Krishna consciousness, then Krishna will drag him to success. Prabhupada says what? Krishna will drag him to success. Now it depends on us. We want to get dragged by Krishna or we want to run behind Krishna. It depends on us. So if you want to get dragged by Krishna, it will take long time. If you want to run behind Krishna, it will take less time. So we should do one demo. Okay. We should do one demo. Okay, 3 of you please come here. We don't need mic. This is action demo. Prabhuji, you also please come. Okay, you sit, stand here. Prabhuji, stand in the center. Prabhuji, stand that side. Here, this side, this side. Okay. Prabhuji, you take your hand. Okay. You hold him. Okay. You should not hold him. Okay. He is holding. Right. Clear? Prabhuji, you hold his hand. You hold his hand. Okay. Now you pull him to that side. You pull him to this side. It's clear? Huh? Pull. No, pull him this side. Push him that side. Okay. Was it clear? Okay. Now, if you have to stop getting pulled in both directions, what you should do? Correct. If you leave this hand, what will happen? You will go this side. Is clear? Is very clear? Okay. So, this is Maya, this is Jiva, this is Krishna. Okay. So, Krishna is pulling the devotee. He is telling that don't remain, in mode of ignorance, mode of goodness. Come to mode of goodness, become transcendental platform, become Madhyama Adhikari, become Uttama Adhikari. Krishna is pulling. But what devotee is doing? And then Maya is pulling opposite. Because this is Maya's service. Maya has to pull opposite side. So, Maya is also a very strong force. Devi Esha Gunamayi, Mahamaya, Dhuratyaya is very strong force. So, when two strong forces are pulling each other, pulling a person on opposite side, then what is the position of this person? He will experience great pain. He will experience great pain. So, that is why Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that when a devotee wants Krishna and Maya together, then he will experience great pain. He will experience great pain. The only thing what he has to do is that he should leave his attention towards Maya. Then everything will become easy, because then Krishna will easily pull. So that is what happens when we come to ISKCON. That Krishna is pulling us, because ISKCON is a very strong place. It's a very strong place. It's not some simple place. It's a very strong place. Krishna is pulling us. But we also want to keep one hand with Maya. We also keep one hand with Maya. It depends on us how quickly we are going to release that hand with Maya. So that is the answer. The moment you realize that I am getting pulled in two directions because I am keeping one hand with Maya, and if you try to do that, if you try to release that hand, then naturally Krishna will pull us very quickly. But what happens is that we think it is all right. That is the problem. The problem comes when we think it is all right. It is all right. Let me ride on Krishna and Maya together. I'll get best of both the worlds. In English we have a term, no? Getting best of both the worlds. Then get best of both the worlds. Then it becomes problem. Okay. Please read.
This pleasure was certainly material because she gave up her body for another body that was also material. But by this example, we can appreciate the devotee's pleasure in concentrating his mind and attention on the lotus feet of Supreme Lord Vishnu or Krishna. There is such transcendental bliss in simply meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord that one can forget everything. But the Lord's transcendental form, this is the perfection. In this verse, it is stated that by such meditations, she became free from all contaminations. What was that contaminations? The contamination was her concept of the body derived from Daksha. But she forgot that bodily relationship in trance. The purpose is that when one becomes free from all bodily relationship within this material world, he simply places himself in the position of an eternal servant of the Supreme Lord. It is to be understood that all the contamination of his material attachment has been burned by the blazing fires of transcendental ecstasy. It is not necessary for one to manifest a blazing fire externally. For if one forgets all his bodily relationships within this material world and becomes situated in his spiritual identity, it is said that one has been freed from all material contaminations by the blazing fire of yogic samadhi or ecstasy. That is the topmost perfection of yoga.
So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yasya sarve samarambaha kama sankalpa varjitaha jnanagni dagda karmanam tam ahu panditam buddhaha. The fire of transcendental knowledge burns all the reactions of his work. Why? Because he does not act for sense gratification. He simply acts for the pleasure of Guru and Krishna. Okay.
Simply by chanting the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, simply by remembering the lotus feet of Krishna, simply by offering praise to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one is immediately freed from material contamination. The material bodily concepts by the blazing fire of ecstasy. According to Sri Jiva Goswami, that Sati quit her body means that she gave up within her heart her relationship with Daksha. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also comments that since Sati is the superintendent deity of the external potency, when she quit her body, she did not get a spiritual body, but simply transferred from the body she had received from Daksha. Other commentators also says that she immediately transferred herself into the womb of Menika, her future mother. She gave up the body she had received from Daksha and immediately transferred herself to another better body, but this does not mean that she got a spiritual body.
So various explanations of what happened to her after giving up that body. Okay. Yeah, definitely. No, she is identifying herself with that body. That was the contamination. So when she sat in the yogic posture, she was freed from all the contamination. Prabhupada just now wrote in the purport that the contamination was her identification that the body was given by Daksha. So she also said that when Lord Shiva calls me Dakshayini, I cannot tolerate it. I cannot tolerate it because I get reminded of my relationship with you. So definitely it is there. Definitely her identification as the daughter of Daksha is very strongly there in this pastime. That's why in the beginning of this pastime I said, Maya herself is in Maya, in this pastime.
If it could have been while sitting in the yogic posture, remembering the Supreme Lord, might be the body.
But she is eternally the consort of Lord Shiva. So her constitutional position is to be as the consort of Lord Shiva. So there is no question of her not remembering Lord Shiva and attaining him again and again and again. So that's how she is. But it's not that she doesn't have a position in the spiritual world. She has position in the spiritual world. She is there as in Krishna Lila. She is already there. She is there as what? Purnamasi. There is Purnamasi in Krishna Lila. So when there is a place in Mayapur, near Mayapur, it's called Shankarpur. It's considered as Varanasi. So in Shankarpur, Mahaprabhu, Maya, Durga, she actually met Mahaprabhu. And she was crying to Mahaprabhu saying that you are giving mercy to everybody, but you are not giving mercy to me. And I am not your favorite, because everybody says that I am Maya, and everybody is always scolding me, and everybody is always abusing me, and I have to always remain at your back. I cannot be with you. Like that, Maya was crying to Mahaprabhu. And that time Mahaprabhu pacified Maya by saying that she is actually an expansion of Srimati Radharani. She said that as external and external potency, you are simply an expansion of my internal potency. And he also told her that you will actually become Simantini and you will remain in Mayapur, and all devotees, all my devotees will come and pray to you as Simantini did. So, it's not that she is not recognized by Krishna for her service, she is recognized by Krishna for her service. Thankless service. Thankless service. Maya's service is thankless. But of course, Mahaprabhu gave her nice position. If you come to Rajapur, you can see Simantini Devi. I pray to Simantini Devi. Okay.
Since she was the daughter of a great personality and wife of a great personality, she had nothing to desire, but still she gave up her body in dissatisfaction. Certainly, this was astonishing. One cannot attain complete satisfaction even if one is situated in the greatest material opulence. There was nothing Sati could not achieve either from her relationship with her father or from her relationship with the greatest of the demigods, but still, for some reason, she was dissatisfied. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.6 explains that one has to achieve real satisfaction. Ayatma suprasidati. But Atma, the body, mind, and soul, all become completely satisfied only if one develops devotional service to the absolute truth.
So, Ipumsam, Parodharmo, Etobhaktiradakshade, Ahaitukya Prahita, Yatma Suprasidati. It's a very important learning point from this whole pastime. That Sati had such a wonderful position, and there's nothing lacking for her in her own position. She herself is material energy personified. She had wonderful father, Daksha, the great Prajapati. She had wonderful husband, Lord Shiva himself, and yet she was dissatisfied. So, this is one of the greatest lessons from this pastime, that in the material world, irrespective of whatever position you have to be miserable and you have to remain dissatisfied. This is the very nature of material world. It's one of the very important lessons from this pastime. Okay.
It was a duty of Daksha to look after the maintenance and comforts of all living entities because he was situated as Prajapati, the governor of all living entities. Therefore, how is it that he neglected his own daughter, who was the most exalted and a chaste woman, a great soul, and who therefore deserved the most respectful treatment from her father?
Daksha means expert, and he was given this name because his ability to beget many hundreds and thousands of children. Persons who are too sexually inclined and materialistic become so hard-hearted because of a slight loss of prestige that they can tolerate even the death of their children.
Yeah, this we can very clearly see. Sometimes people engage in honor killing, that this, so many things. That materialistic people, they can become very hard-hearted. And committing offenses can actually make us hard-hearted. That is something which we should be very careful about. In this pastime, again and again we learn about the danger of committing offenses. When we commit offenses, we can become hard-hearted. Okay.
In this age, the entire population is supposed to consist of Sudra because the Brahmanical culture has been lost. But if anyone display the sign of understanding Krishna consciousness, he should be accepted according to Vaishnava Smriti regulation as a prospective Brahman and should be given all facility to achieve the highest perfection. The most magnanimous gift of Lord Chaitanya is that the highest perfection of the life is available in this fallen age if one simply adopts the process of chanting Hare Krishna, which is able to bring about the fulfillment of all activities in self-realization.
Okay, so that's the answer the purport of 4th canto, 4th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam entitled Sati quits her body. Okay, any questions, comments, or unresolved issues in this chapter? Anything? Okay, good. We move to the next chapter. The frustration of sacrifice of Daksha. Okay.
Maitreya said, when Lord Shiva heard from Narada that Sati, his wife, was now dead because of Prajapati Daksha's insult to her, and that his soldiers had been driven away by the Rugu demigods, he became greatly angry.
Okay.
Thus Lord Shiva, being extremely angry, pressed his lips with his teeth and immediately snatched from his head a strand of hair which blazed like electricity or fire. He stood up at once laughing like a madman and dashed the hair to the ground.
Okay.
A fearful black demon as high as sky and as bright as 3 suns combined was thereby created. His teeth very fearful and his hairs on his head like burning fire. He had thousands of arms equipped with various weapons, and he was garlanded with the heads of men.
When that gigantic demon asked with folded hands, "What shall I do, my lord?" Lord Shiva, who is known as Bhutanath, directly ordered, "Because you are born from my body, you are the chief of all my associates. Therefore, kill Daksha and his soldiers at the sacrifice."
Maitreya continued, my dear Vidura, that black person was a personified anger of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he was prepared to execute the orders of Lord Shiva. Thus, considering himself capable of coping with any power offered against him, he circumambulated Lord Shiva.
Many other soldiers of Lord Shiva followed the fierce personality in a tumultuous uproar. He carried a great trident, fearful enough to kill even death, and on his legs he wore bangles which seemed to roar.
At that time, all the persons assembled in the sacrificial arena, the priest, the chief of sacrificial performance, and the brahmanas, their wives, wondered where the darkness was coming from. Later, they could understand that it was a dust storm, and all of them were full of anxiety.
Conjecturing on the origin of the storm, they said, there is no wind blowing and no cows are passing, nor it is possible that this dust storm could be raised by plunderers. For there is still the strong King Barhi who would punish them. Where is this dust storm blowing from? Is the dissolution of the planet now to occur?
Prasuti, the wife of Daksha, along with the other women assembled, became very anxious and said, "This danger has been created by Daksha because of the death of Sati, who, even though completely innocent, quit her body as her sister looked on."
At the time of dissolution, Lord Shiva's hair is scattered, and he pierces the rulers of the different directions with his trident. He laughs and dances proudly, scattering their hands like flags as thunder scatters the clouds all over the world.
The gigantic black man bared his fearful teeth. By the movements of his brows, he scattered the luminaries all over the sky, and he covered them with his strong, piercing effulgence. Because of the misbehavior of Daksha, even Lord Brahma, Daksha's father, could not have been saved from the great exhibition of anger.
While all the people talked amongst themselves, Daksha saw dangerous omens from all sides, from the earth and from the sky.
My dear Vidura, all the followers of the Lord Shiva surrounded the arena of sacrifice. They were of short stature and were equipped with the various kinds of weapons. Their bodies appeared to be like those of shark, blackish and yellowish. They ran all around the sacrificial arena and thus began to create disturbances.
Some of the soldiers pulled down the pillars which were supporting the pandal of sacrifice. Some of them entered the female quarters. Some began destroying the sacrificial arena, and some entered the kitchen and residential quarters.
They broke all the pots made for use in the sacrifice, and some of them began to extinguish the sacrificial fire. Some tore down the boundary line of the sacrificial arena, and some passed urine on the arena.
Some blocked the way of fleeing sages, some threatened the women assembled there, and some arrested the demigods who were fleeing the pandal.
Manivan, one of the followers of Lord Shiv, arrested Bhrigu Muni, and Veerbhadra, the black demon, arrested Prajapati Daksha. Another follower, whose name was Chandesh, arrested Pusa. Nandishwar arrested the demigod Bhag.
There was a continuous shower of stones, and all the priests and other members assembled at the sacrifice were put into immense misery. For fear of their lives, they dispersed in different directions.
Veerabhadra tore off the mustache of Bhrigu, who was offering the sacrificial oblation with his hands in the fire.
Veerabhadra tore off the mustache of Bhrigu.
That's done.
Veerabhadra immediately caught Bhaga, who had been moving his eyebrows during Bhrigu's cursing of Lord Shiva, and out of great anger thrust him to the ground and forcibly put out his eyes.
Just as Baladev knocked out the teeth of Dantavakra, the king of Kalinga, during the gambling match at the marriage ceremony of the Aniruddha, Veerabhadra knocked out the teeth of both Daksha, who had shown them while cursing Lord Shiva, and Pusha, who by smiling sympathetically had also shown his teeth.
Okay, so he did some dentistry.
Then Veerbhadra, the giant-like personality, sat on the chest of Daksha and tried to separate his head from his body with a sharp weapon, but was unsuccessful.
He tried to cut the head of Daksha with hymns as well as weapons, but still it was hard to cut even the surface of the skin of Daksha head. Thus Veerabhadra was exceedingly bewildered.
Then Veerabhadra saw the wooden device in the sacrificial arena by which the animals were to have been killed. He took the opportunity of this facility to behead the
Cutted on animals' bodies in the.
No. Upon seeing.
Upon seeing the action of Veerbhadra, the party of Lord Shiva was pleased and cried out joyfully, and all the bhutas, ghosts and demons that had come made a tumultuous sound. On the other hand, the Brahmanas in charge of the sacrifice cried out in grief the death of Daksha.
Veerbhadra then took the head and with great anger threw it into the southern side of the sacrificial fire, offering it as an oblation. In this way, the followers of Lord Shiva devastated all the arrangements for sacrifice. After setting fire to the whole arena, they departed for their master's abode Kailash.
Yeah. So, thus the grand sacrifice of Daksha was destroyed. So that is why we should always remember that we should simply do Sankirtana Yajna. We should never try to do Daksha Yajna. If you try to do Daksha Yajna, then everything will be destroyed. Our devotion should be simply an offering of devotion. It should not be a show of false ego. Okay, please read.
It would not have been difficult for Sati to punish her father, but she thought that since she was his daughter, it was not proper for her to kill him. Thus, she decided to give up her own body, which she had obtained from his, and Daksha did not even check her.
When Lord Shiva heard that his soldiers had been driven away, he created the tall black demon Veerbhadra to retaliate. There is sometimes a competition between the mode of goodness and the mode of ignorance. That is the way of material existence. This quarrel between the Lord Shiva and Bhrigu Muni, centering around Prajapati Daksha, is the practical example of such competition between the different qualities of qualitative modes of material nature.
Indirectly, it is stated here that thieves, plunderers, rogues, and unwanted population can exist only in a state or kingdom where there is no strong ruler. When in the name of justice thieves are allowed liberty, the state and kingdom are disturbed by such plunderers and unwanted population.
Yes.
Tamoguna or Rajoguna are equally powerful or lesser than?
They are equally powerful. One can overpower the other. It's not that one guna is more powerful than the other. But Prabhupada says that you can train yourself in one of the modes. Normally in Kali Yuga, people are trained in mode of passion and mode of ignorance. In order to work, they are trained in mode of passion. In order to enjoy, they are trained in mode of ignorance. That's how they are. There is hardly any mode of goodness in Kali Yuga. Because people are trained, then these modes become very prominent. So it looks like they are strong, but generally they are equally strong. Mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance, they are equally strong modes. And then they keep competing with each other, and something becomes more prominent, something becomes less prominent, like that. But as far as time is concerned, in different times, different modes become prominent. That is because in those different times, different types of training is offered. In Satyuga, there is hardly any mode of ignorance, because all the training in Satyuga is in mode of goodness. But from Treta Yuga, passion starts, because the yajna to pacify the demigods, this is started in Treta Yuga. In Satya Yuga, there is no yajna to pacify the demigods. So then passion starts. Then there is mixture of passion and ignorance, passion and goodness is going on. In the end of Dwapara Yuga, then mode of ignorance starts becoming more and more prominent. And then now you see mode of ignorance is quite prominent. Mode of passion and mode of ignorance is quite prominent. So it depends on us that which mode we want to get ourselves trained in. Generally, ISKCON is training in mode of goodness. Generally, ISKCON training is in mode of goodness. Okay? Okay? Okay?
This this description indicates that the strength of Lord Shiva is so great that Daksha's power could not be set in comparison to it. In the last phase of dissolution, all the planets become inundated with water, and that inundation is caused by the dancing of Lord Shiva. This dance is called Pralaya dance or dance of dissolution. Prasuti could understand that the dangers ahead resulted not only from Daksha's having neglected her daughter, but also because of his neglecting the prestige and honor of Lord Shiva.
Okay, so it is very clear that whatever opulence Daksha was displaying, that was not equal to one strand of hair of Lord Shiva. Because with one strand of hair, Lord Shiva destroyed the entire opulence which Daksha was able to display. Okay, we'll stop here. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Lord Premanande. Thank you very much.